Howdy. Let's take a look at this Heinz commercial and see what may be going on consciously and subconsciously. All right, here we start, and we have Based on a Real DM from Ed Sheeran. And so already we're getting a few different cues in terms of what may be going on next. One is Ed Sheeran, he's a celebrity, so they're already pulling in some celebrity social proof to say, hey, this is cool, we don't know what it is yet, but it's interesting. Also mentioning that it's based on a real DM from Ed Sheeran. In a way, it could imply spontaneity, like, hey, he just had this, crazy idea, and that went from that idea into this commercial, so we're kind of cool, we're fluid, and we kind of make interesting things, anything can happen around us. And then Ed Sheeran has his, celebrity influence as well. And he's wearing a backpack and just like a button down, maybe flannel shirt in what looks like a fancy place. So from the start, there appears to be a juxtaposition between just casual and kind of like doing what he wants versus this very tight and buttoned up place. Let's see how that may play out.
Idea for a Heinz ketchup commercial. I was at this super posh restaurant.
You can look here, he has kind of a curious but confident look on his face. So he's about to explore something. He may not know what's coming up, but they're kind of placing us in that journey with him. And we could see he's totally, relaxed, and maybe a little bit, like a little bit of leverage over the situation.
Super posh. The type of place that has chandeliers and paintings on the wall and way too many forks. I think classical music was playing. But maybe it was jazz. No, definitely classical. The hostess walks up to me and she said,
all right, so we see a few things there. One is there's a big focus on saying how posh and how fancy the place is. Even here it says super posh. So they're building that up. And even here on her shirt it says super posh. So they're trying to build up some kind of juxtaposition, likely that this is so posh and there's going to be something on the other side of that, almost like the anti-posh. So they're building up that tension in between so that whenever they introduce that other thing, it's going to be in contrast to all of this posh stuff that they keep kind of referring to and building up. And we could also tell that Ed is probably the guy who's going to introduce that new cool thing because he's the cool, relaxed, dressed guy walking into this super tight, buttoned up place.
Mr. Sheeran, is this your first time dining with us? And I say, yep. The waiter comes over, he's telling me about the specials. Super fancy vegetables, fancy sauces. I said, sounds fancy. So fast forward and the food comes. The waiter goes on.
So again, they're talking about fancy, building up that, that comparison even greater yet. We don't know what it's going to be compared to. But even here, from a visual perspective, we could see there isn't much color in this scene. Very neutral in the backdrop. Even the skin tones of the actors behind Ed, darker tones, as well as the clothing that they're wearing. And the brightest thing that we see is probably going to be this colored food right here, which is going to indicate to us something will happen here at some point. And then we see probably in a moment, they're probably going to light up Ed's face a little more.
Tell me, we are proud to present this farm to table, blah, 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 posh and fancy, blah, 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 with a side of blah, blah, blah.
Yep, so if we look here, Ed's face is going to be the brightest area of the scene. And from a human perspective, we typically look at eyes first. So we're going to see his face, and then based on the lighting, it's going to draw us there as well into this moment. And then the coloring on the food here will indicate something's going to happen there, very likely next.
Food looked good. I just thought there was something missing. So I reach into my bag and I take out the only thing that can complete.
Aha, and there you have it. The brightest color that we've seen yet is going to be obviously a bright red, contrasting with everything else that's around it, except for this little bit of color here, which will likely indicate this is going to interact with here at some point. However, clearly, being a Heinz commercial, it wants the eye and the attention to be on the Heinz product itself, and there you have it.
And at that point, the whole world came to a stop.
And here's that moment, right? That kind of juxtaposition we talked about. And here's the posh place, and now everyone's focused on him. Something's going to happen. What is he going to do that's so out of character? But here we have a confident, cool Ed flipping the bottle, and he's going to bang on it, and the way that we all know how to do to get the ketchup out, just like the common person, so we can associate with him, take this journey with him, and kind of experience this moment with him.
In the waiter was screaming through his eyes.
And as everyone stands horrified, it's almost like, hey, I'm not about this. I do what I want. I'm free. I have fun. He's putting ketchup on his super fancy dinner, and he has this very confident, cool look in his face, almost like, don't even bother with me. I'm doing this. You know, everything's cool.
So that's my idea.
And then there you go. He has the happy look on his face, and he's now working on his food. And as you can imagine, at the forefront is the product itself being featured. And you have him, happy background, and the kind of the funny anecdotal story to go with it. So you kind of see the product and associate this jovial story about, you know, it could be used anywhere. It doesn't matter. It's going to make something great.
Do you want to do it?
And there's the end screen, obviously featuring the product prominently. And then a mention of Ed. They're probably working together on a few different commercials. So they're just kind of giving a nod to that. But ultimately, that's an interesting story to kind of weave a little bit of fun into the product and showing, you know, likely that you could use this anywhere. You know, it's this common and enjoyable, you know, no matter what you're doing. So that's just one look into what this might be saying a little bit subconsciously, along with the more, you know, obvious signs that it's about Heinz and the ketchup. So yeah, if you found anything interesting in that, please share. If you'd like to see more of these analysis type things, I'm happy to do so. And maybe it gives you some things to think about, you know, when you're watching commercials and kind of thinking for yourself between, you know, what is being presented and what you may want to do, you know, for yourself.